Good evening, everyone. In here, out there, on Zoom, everybody welcome. I'm Mahesh Das, and I have the pleasure of serving as the president of this great institution. And welcome to the 34th Cascieri Lectureship in the Humanities. Tonight's lecture bears the name of Arcangelo Cascieri, a sculptor, educator, and longest-serving dean in the history of the BAC. Cascieri led the institution for 6 decades, from 1937 till 1995. And he stands in spirit with us back there. So if you all turn to that corner, he's always standing there and sharing his spirit with us. And we'll try to channel some of that this evening. Born in Italy and trained as an artist, Cascieri brought a sculptor's sensibility to architectural education. He believed deeply in making, in selfless labor, and in exposing students to ideas beyond the boundaries of convention. He actively invited voices that others resisted. When Walter Gropius was dismissed by much of the Boston architectural establishment, and yes, he was dismissed by the Boston architectural establishment, Cascieri welcomed him here. When Frank Lloyd Wright declined to speak at Harvard or MIT, Cascieri invited him to speak at the BAC, filling the old center with energy and with dissenting ideas. So this lecture series honors that legacy. It exists to remind us that progress comes from openness, courage, and willingness to listen to new directions. Tonight's lecture continues that tradition, and tonight we welcome back one of our very own. Benedetta Tagliabue is an honorary alumna of our institution. And I'm pretty sure those of you at last previous commencement, she was the commencement speaker, and we recognize her with honorary doctorate. She is not just tonight's speaker, she is part of this institution and part of this community. And I'll share with you a few anecdotes about how and why. First, her credentials speak for themselves. And let me okay this. Her credentials speak for themselves. Born in Milan, trained in Venice, and based in Barcelona, she is a co-founder of EMBT Enric Miralles and Benedetta Tagliabue, with a body of work that has reshaped public space across continents. From Santa Caterina Market in Barcelona to the Spanish Pavilion at Expo in 2010 in Shanghai, to the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh. Her projects combine architectural rigor with cultural intelligence. Her work has been recognized with the Reba Stirling Prize, the Reba Jenks Award, and the Global Award for Sustainable Architecture, among many others. And I'm pretty sure many more to come. What distinguishes Benedetta is not only that she builds, but how she builds. She engages social questions directly, works closely with communities, and designs through listening, collaboration, and care. That ethic also shaped her service on the Pritzker Prize jury, including the jury that selected Balkrishna Doshi, of course, another honorary alumnus of the BAC, and we held his exhibition as well in 2023. Earlier today, she worked closely with our students in a workshop. And you really should have seen. I do have some photos I'll try to post, and the energy and the spirit of collaboration and the inventiveness that she brings to any forum was very evident at that moment. Yesterday evening, she came by train. After a sojourn in New York, she came by train, and she came straight from the train station to the gallery. And she lent a hand in putting the finishing touches on the exhibition. Somebody said, yes, see, that's the echo of it. I liked it, right? And to finish that, it's no fanfare. I mean, that is how she is. She becomes part of the community. And that is why she belongs here. So please join me in welcoming our own Benedetta Tagliabue.
So thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody of BAC who made this possible. And really, we made this exhibition downstairs in the big hall called Healing Spaces, because we think that this was a very beautiful topic. And we only selected 4 projects. And so tonight I will talk about these 4 projects, but also I introduce other projects that are going on in the office and that are kind of dealing with this idea or inspired these ideas. First of all, you see this image. This is the entry door to our home in Barcelona. So I would like, as a first thing, to invite you all to arrive in our Barcelona home and to experiment together with us how it was to well, I need to know how to go on. Boop, it doesn't work. So now okay, so how to enter in this house and discover together with us how it was this renovation in Barcelona of a very old building, abandoned house. It was really for Enric Miralles and myself, who were at the time taking this place, a kind of a discovery. We were kind of discovering the old house, the old tiles. Also we discover things in the walls. So we decided that this house would remain a little bit how we were discovering, and we would put our things next to the walls and the stones and the old capitals that we were finding. And so here we were developing this idea that we were able to do an architecture which was mingling with the one that other generation had been doing, and which were maybe also making a good dialogue and making a kind of a strength out of the fact that you are finding things. And this house was really very generous. It was giving us a lot of discoveries. We were scrubbing the walls in order to paint well, and we were finding frescoes and old remains and old capitals and beautiful other things. So we started to put our life together with the life of the many generations that had been living here before us. And with this same spirit, we arrived next door to a beautiful market, which at the time was actually not so beautiful. It was a rundown market, but we were giving a lot of importance to this place. And we were so lucky to make the transformation of this rundown old market, which nevertheless was in the minds of my late husband, Enric Miralles, because he was going there to buy with his grandmother and mother, and this was in the center of Barcelona. And we, little by little, tried to understand how to transform it. And for example, we were making materials like this one, no? Like looking at the sky and making photographs and discovering that in the old city of Barcelona, like in many old cities, a piece of sky is a very important thing. So when you have a piazza, a square, an open square, it's incredible, no? This luxury of looking at the sky. So with these ideas in mind, we started to work and started to imagine how to open the neighborhood, which was very, very dense. And we did that through a series of models, inviting the politicians of the time to have ideas together with us and to think together of how to transform the city. And in this transformation, the market was very important because it was really like the piece of attraction, the piece of joy where colors were happening that could really transform the rest of the city. So we really believed in that. We could convince the many politicians who were involved in this. And with many years, we could transform this piece of city. And now this part of Barcelona is open with this opening that was not existing before here. And with this new roof, which is introducing colors and joy in which is actually what you have when you go inside the market into the city itself. So after this market, we also had other important projects to work on, but also we tried to participate in these projects, kind of taking into consideration the fact that we didn't want something very institutional to take place, but something more mingled with nature, with the past, with the history of the place. And here we had won a competition to design this new Scottish Parliament. So this was a very institutional thing that we had to do. And we tried our best to take the institution away and to introduce a more domestic, more home-like feeling. And we started by introducing a lot of landscape and making the effort to make the parliament being like a product of the landscape. Also mingling with the history, which was very present because we were at the end of the Royal Mile. We were the only one in the competition who decided not to destroy the old Queensberry house, which was possible to destroy. And we made a kind of a complex which had a relation with the landscape, a relation with history, and try to be as domestic, as cozy as possible. And also in the very representative room, which is the debating chamber, we try to make a feeling of like being inside a boat, so that really you have the feeling that people taking decisions here are like in the middle of the sea and they don't depend on their regions or on the city of origin. So then we had opportunities also without Enric. My late husband died in the year 2000. It was a big, let's say, of course, a big trauma for me and for the studio. But we had this idea we will go on in continuity. And it was very important to go on like little by little transforming. And little by little, we made more competitions and we found ourselves arriving in China. We won a competition to make a Spain pavilion for Expo 2010 in Shanghai. And we were proposing something that during the competition we thought, oh, this is crazy, we will never win, to make the pavilion in wicker. Of course, we have never done a wicker pavilion before. We thought, but it was a very beautiful material because we thought, wow, wicker is such an ancient material. We are now going to China. We don't know anything about China. We don't know if they understand us, if they will be able to translate our drawings in their construction. But wicker is a material which humanity has at the beginning everywhere in the world. So this hand work, these handmade things are a kind of a universal human language. So we were proposing that by this chance that arrives sometimes in the story. We won the competition, and we did our big effort to maintain this promise that this pavilion would have a facade, interior and exterior, done in wicker. And this was really an incredible experiment. It was a big story that I was telling a lot about how to go and visit the artisans and how to work together with the artisans, how to make this low-tech facade. But then this was also a fantastic entry to work in a world which I always loved very much. China. I was brought in China in a trip by my uncle together with my cousin when I was 18, and I fall in love with the place. So I was feeling that this was a kind of a reward for the joy I tried in that age. And now we have a lot of projects going on in China. And one of them is something that I like very much because it's in the middle of Nanjing Road, which is one of the most touristic and pedestrian roads. And here in the middle, there is a piazza, a square, which is supposed to be for events, like the Shanghai Times Square. And what we did here, instead of making a kind of an artificial Times Square, we decided to renaturalize this very, very dense piece of city of Shanghai. And we created a grade which was planted with trees so that we had a new planting. Behind the grade, there is the traffic going, but here you have this square, this new piazza, free from cars, and with a new fantastic pavimentation, which is introducing a very different color into this Shanghai color, which is more gray with more color of the earth. We introduced the color of the water, the color of the sky, in order to remember that in the middle of the very dense Shanghai, you can create again a piece of nature. So this idea of renaturalizing is something which I think is very of nowadays. In the past 20 years, we were talking a lot when we were doing Santa Caterina about regenerating in the cities. But now I'm very keen with the words renaturalize. And we could do some sort of renaturalization also in this place, in Rimini, in Italy. As you can see, this is a seaside place, but is for mass tourism. It's like an industry of tourism, as you can see with the many, many umbrellas. And this seaside part was really divided from the rest of the Rimini, of the rest of the city, by this street, which was kind of creating the back of the hotels and the back of the industry of the sea. So together with the city of Rimini, we won a master plan to transform all these 8 kilometers along the seaside in order to make a kind of a connection between the beach and the city of Rimini, and have finally the view of the sea entering into the city, and also having this kind of new park of 8 kilometers, which is really changing the feeling of having a kind of an asphalted road with cars. But now here you can have people going on bicycles, and new trees growing, and dunes in between the beach and the city. And really all the hotels are now changing. They are, instead of having their back looking to the sea, they have their front part arriving at looking at the sea. And people is using it, and also it's kind of changing the habits of people, because this part is different from the beach. The beach, usually you use it from let's say May to September maximum, but this park is really all the year long. You have nature and open air life happening all year long. So I think it's quite important for architects to be involved in projects like that. And a project that we love very much also is a project in France, in Paris. We won the competition for one of the stations of the Grand Paris, which is an enormous infrastructure which is linking the outskirts of Paris. Paris have incredible, beautiful center, but all the surroundings were not connected, and were creating these very difficult social problems. And the station we won, Clichy-Montfermeil, was one of the most conflictual places, where there were a lot of riots, a lot of violence, and among the violence and the difficulties, also art can take place. So a beautiful artist was born here, GR, who was kind of saying, okay, we are people who are kind of invisible, because the people in the center of Paris don't look at us. So what I will do, I will take these invisible faces and I will cast them in enormous surfaces, so that everybody is obliged to look at what is apparently invisible. And this beautiful concept was very important to us in order to design, or to imagine how to design the new station, which would happen here. So we were looking at what was already happening in Clichy-Montfermeil. We were looking at informal markets, like the market we have in these photos, with these fantastic colors and beautiful products, because the people here is 90% not French and 85% from different places of Africa. So the style, the colors, also the perfumes, everything is very different. And we used material colors that we found in the place in order to make the new structure of the station. And we tried our best to make the station touching the ground as little as possible, and instead to have a very big roof, so that people could have the feeling that more than a station, it was the indication of a new space where people could meet and have activities, a little like the market we had looked at. And inside, also the inside of the station would be colorful and full with light, like a kind of a reception hall. So we did also a seminar, a workshop, similar to the one we did with the students today here in the school, together with some ladies who were just moved from their different places of origin to this Clichy-Montfermeil. And we asked them, please, to prepare the photocopies of their favorite dresses, or favorite jewelry, or favorite fabrics. And then we invited them to, as we did together with the students today, to cut part of these photocopies, and they were enjoying. No, they were not understanding very well what we wanted to do. And at the end, we put together everything in a piece of paper. And this was the result. They were laughing and saying, wow, what a crazy thing we did. But then from this crazy thing, we took also the pattern and the colors for the interior of the inside of the subway, and also for the pergolas, so that little by little this patterns is becoming panels of different colors. And now we are under construction, so soon we will see if this is really resembling what we wanted to be similar to the people of the place. So also we have another station, a subway station going on in a wonderful place called Naples. Actually, the city is wonderful, but it's also very full of contrast and very complicated, and it's volcanic, and it's the city of chaos. It's impossible going in Naples. The traffic is terrible, the most terrible in the world. But then here with the station, they are trying to introduce a kind of order. And we were this station is in a place which is very, very abstract. It actually is a sort of a artificial downtown that Naples wanted to do in order to say, we have a place where we are very organized and very ordered. This is the new downtown. And they asked Kenzo Tange to design it. And Kenzo Tange made a fantastic, rational design with a lot of buildings in steel and glass, and with different levels. And this piece of city never worked. It was always empty. People was not feeling at home here, and it was very dangerous. So what we did with the station was trying to overcome, in a way, this concept of abstraction, and to make the strength and the character of the city of Naples arriving from underneath with the train, and arriving with this strength of the volcano. And we created a kind of a big roof which is breaking the levels of the Kenzo Tange plan, and is inviting people to descend in the subway little by little, like feeling that they are arriving in a sort of a wood or kind of a natural space. So from this big roof, you can descend little by little in the train rails. And here is a lot of colors is taking place, remembering also the beautiful discoveries of Pompeii and Ercolano, where the colors were maintained absolutely vivid during thousands of years. So there was a program with a lot of art. This is a line which is dealing with a place full of archaeology, and this made people think that here they could do stations with good archaeology, good architecture, and good art. But actually in this station we have no archaeology. We have the archaeology of Kenzo Tange, and they forgot to put the art pieces, but we are confident that one day they will arrive. So now we are going to some of the projects that you can see downstairs in the big hall. And we are arriving in a space which is a church, actually a kind of a spiritual place. And we participated to this competition because we loved also, apart from the idea of making a new church, but we loved the city. The city is Ferrara, which is near to Bologna and between Bologna and Venice, and has an incredibly beautiful architecture, which is very particular. And people goes in bicycle. It's a very pedestrian city, and also quite small. But they have a canal, and on the other side of the canal, it's a sort of a periphery. So they had new housing, new people. They didn't have a new church, and they asked for a new church to take place here in the periphery of the city. And we started, as many times we do, doing a lot of collage. This was making it easier before deciding what to do, to get near to the city, get inspired by the beauty of this fantastic place. And instead of really mimicking the brick architecture of the place, we started to say, well, maybe we can take a balloon and we can imagine that the church is like a balloon which is arriving in the earth. And before going down is making a kind of a space which actually has a big skylight in the middle and makes the light enter inside. So it was kind of beautiful to win the competition. This is always a kind of a surprise. And then when little by little we could arrive to build, realizing that these drawings and these first models were actually very similar to what at the end we could build. So we maintained the constructive building very similar to these first sketches, and actually the church took place not changing very much from the very first sketch and first competition that we did. So the church is in this part, then there is the house of the priest, and then there is classrooms and meeting places for the community, so that the community has this place to meet, which is the church, but also they have other places to meet, and an old building existing here is creating a kind of a space in between, which is quite interesting. But designing a church is always something very, very demanding. You have this idea that you have to make a sacred space, and you don't know if you are able to really do it. And we were working together with an artist called Enzo Cucchi, who you see here. Actually, he's in the sun, not because he wanted to be photographed, but because it was very, very cold. And we were during a kind of a meeting. And the artist was working with us in kind of a very good symphony. And since the beginning, he told us, I want a black piece. And this was very scary for the church, because they think, wow, this black piece. And at the end, we had a wonderful person who is a person of the church working with us, kind of understanding the artist, understanding the architects, and making us also understand the ritual. The priest was this one. All the priests are dressed normally. And we were talking together about all these items, like, for example, the altar and all the furniture in the church. We wanted them to look like pieces of a tree, trunk of trees. And he was approving, and he was telling us all the traditions and the beautiful mythology which is behind all this spiritual path of the Christian church. And then little by little, without copying things that we already knew, we arrived to have a space which was reusing, for example, reusing these beams, or reusing old statues like this Madonna, and creating a synergy between the art pieces, which were these enormous crosses, together with the black ceramic. And actually, I always say that this liturgist was always telling us, the space, you will know if it works as a sacred space only if, when built, a child playing football by chance enters into the church. If it doesn't stop, then the church doesn't work. If it stops, it means that he understands immediately that this is a space with a sacred and spiritual aim. So it was very beautiful. We never tried with the boy with the football ball, but we really hope that now that it's built, the boy would feel this feeling that this is a sacred space. This is a space which is transmitting something special, and that this is a space where you have a kind of a different feeling respect to the normal one of being in a kind of a normal other situation. So this was really also a fantastic adventure, which was making us think a lot about how architecture can influence in the feeling of users and the power that we have in our hands dealing with this fantastic profession. So this was not only a religion, we were open to other spiritual paths. So we had a client actually coming from United States. He's called Alan Wallace, and he was assistant to the Dalai Lama for a long time. And he asked us to make meditation houses in Tuscany. And meditation houses for a kind of a contemplation course, which would be 1 year of contemplation inside these houses. And before understanding how these houses could be, we started to look a lot at places which were used by hermits and meditators in the past in Asia or also in Italy. And caves were usually the places where meditators were going in order to have their meditation path. So we started to implement in the hill that Alan Wallace and his community bought these little dwellings, which we wanted to be like caves. So we started to make these models of possibilities of vaulted spaces. And we were imagining these vaulted spaces to be covered by vegetation, by earth, so that people could have a beautiful view in front of them and a kind of a very secluded garden behind. We were also very attracted. I visited Sharabai House in India many years ago, but I think these vaulted spaces by Le Corbusier were very, very beautiful. So we were proposing these vaulted spaces to be also the main feature for these houses. So now these houses are not built. We will start the construction soon, and this was a very beautiful intervention in another spiritual path. But also we had, in contemporary of the church, the possibility to build another Buddhist temple for a Buddhist community in Canary Island. Actually, this was a kind of a Buddhist community which was more contemporary, and they bought this land which was of thalassotherapy, which was then abandoned. So there were many houses with the ruin of a possible future hotel, which was never built. And this was more or less what we had when we started to work in this property. So the idea for the community was to go back and little by little restore the houses and make a beautiful temple on top of this terrible ruin, which was like that during 20 or more years. So we started with the usual collage, looking at the colorful and traditions of the Buddhist world. And also we did more workshops with students, and we were proposing the students to give ideas how to make a beautiful temple, which is called Gompa, on top of the old ruin of the hotel. So these are the projects of the students. And then from these ideas, we started to propose our own idea of a big roof in wood with a special, fantastic geometry. And all the community started to work on that, so that there was this participation, which was very beautiful. Actually, there was a construction company, but most of the people who wanted to work in the community, they could enter into the construction. So little by little, from the bottom up, the houses started to exist, and they started to take colors, also in relation to the Tibetan traditions of many beautiful colors. And then we arrived to the temple, and this fantastic project that we had done of a very organic roof, the master started to say, no, it's not correct. So we went to another shape, more simple. We were more inspired by Bhutan architecture. And also it was much more, let's say, not only essential, but also more easy to build. And we, on top of this existing structure, we started to position these wooden beams. How do you say this? Laminated wood, and this structure started to take place. And under the structure, where the structure was existing, we started to put a lot of earth, so that now that this is built, fantastic gardens are around. So this was also a fantastic experience. And the day of the opening, there was so many people. The building was not finished yet. Unluckily, the master died, but the community is still going on. Now the son of the master is becoming master himself, and this is still working. And now the vegetation is really, really beautiful. So this was about a transformation. And you can find the work in the exhibition. And this is the last project. I hope I have enough time to explain. And this is a project which I think it was very important in our career. And it is in a beautiful hospital in Barcelona. As you can see, this hospital is not really like looking like an hospital. It's very beautiful with gardens and ceramic and ornamentation. But this was designed as a hospital for poor people. And the idea is fantastic, because the idea is, okay, poor people getting ill, what do they need? They need a beautiful palace to transform their situation into a different one. And architecture can do a lot. And this lady that we have here, she had a very similar idea. I'm sure she was not thinking about Hospital Sant Pau in Barcelona, but she was called Maggie Keswick. She was married with Charles Jenks, and she had to go through cancer. So she went to hospitals, and she realized hospitals, they can cure me, but they are terrible places. I feel not a human there. I feel that my individuality is not respected. So she started a program to think at places which were beautifully designed, integrated with gardens, next to a hospital, so that people with cancer could go and could have another feeling of their situation. So she invited people like Frank Gehry, Oma, Zaha, Pajan Park, and Rogers, and Foster, to design these beautiful little houses next to hospitals, so that patients could go and could feel like at home, could feel again in a powerful position on themselves, so that they could make a cup of tea, for example, something that you cannot make in an hospital. And we were so lucky to be invited by a group of women who were the one promoting this new project. They were women who had gone through cancer, and they had this idea that they wanted to bring this British idea of Maggies in Spain and in Barcelona. And then they found Hospital San Pau, and Hospital San Pau is near to Sagrada Familia. And there is a new hospital, of course, not only the old one. And there, between the old hospital and the new one, we had the opportunity to design the new center, which would be not a Maggie center, but which would be called Calida, which would be really a kind of a place where a cancer patient could forget about their illness. So we did really, we had a lot of time because there was no promoter, no money, no nothing, until one day a donor arrived, and then suddenly we had to start construction. And we had always this kind of models dealing with flowers and dealing with a building which was very integrated in the landscape. And actually, then we could position it between the old hospital and the new hospital, so that cancer patient can escape from the hospital, enter from this door, and find another building which is opening up towards nature, and which is really giving them the feeling that they are not in the hospital anymore. They are in a place which is domestic, which is near them, which is kind of belonging to them, and they are belonging to the space. And we, of course, also the same doubt, while you are designing this, you don't know if you will be able to give this feeling to the people that at the end will use the building. But we did our best, and for example, we wanted to relate with the old hospitals, and we didn't have as much money as Domenech Montaner had at the time, and we were imaging ceramic in the outside, wood in the inside, these materials which are very very human, very ancient, and also very, very beautiful to get near, and a lot of green, so that everything can be implemented, the outside, the inside. And the roof, which has this green color, is because people in the hospital can be attracted by this place and can ask themselves, what is it for? And discover the idea that this is a building for everybody who has cancer and goes to the hospital to come inside and forget a little bit about their situation. So in a way, to conclude this lecture of today, I think through this building, we discover how architecture has a great power in giving a different psychological feeling to people, and how architecture can influence in the society by giving really a kind of a special feeling and looking after the soul of the users. So from that moment on, I think we try to understand more about this special power of architecture. And now that the building is with a lot of vegetation and is growing, we are kind of extending this idea and trying to give the idea of how to make architecture that can heal to everybody. So the exhibition that you will find downstairs is a kind of investigation that we can all do together. So thank you very much.
So if you have questions, please come to the microphone. We have about 10 minutes for Benedetta to field questions from the room and from online. I will ask what they'd like to know from there.
Hello, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I just wanted to comment on your models that you showed and how they were really expressive, and even though they were simplistic material palette, they really, I felt like, showed the story of the project. And so when you even had mentioned the church in Ferrara, and you were talking about how you were a little bit inspired of a balloon and how it was kind of coming down and touching the earth, it made me think of those parachute days that we have as kids, where everyone, like, raises it up and comes back down. And
Wow.
and so I just thought that experience was something that was that, and I related to that. And so I was wondering if that kind of like physical motion, or if there's any like physical kind of exercise that you guys had used in any of your projects, or any of these ones in particular, that kind of were influential in your work.
Thank you. It's a beautiful question. Last semester, I taught in Yale, and we were giving this to the students, this theme, a new center like the Calida in the new hospital where they are going to do it. And one of the students was actually bringing this parachute game as a main reference. And I didn't know this game. Maybe in Europe is not so famous, and I think it was very beautiful, because also together with you, you tell me that this is a very strong feeling. No? So this is a kind of a beautiful architectural exercise. In fact, it's a game, but it's an architectural exercise because it's making you feel how this going together and having a roof on top of you, and all this is influencing very much in the feeling that you have. So I think it's a very beautiful example that you're giving. And I told you, this is an open investigation. We don't know if what we did was really fulfilling. We are trying our best, and I think trying is already a very positive thing.
Thank you very much.
A colleague of mine, the Dean of Interior Architecture, asks, across your remarkable body of work, what brings you the greatest joy in your practice?
Well, I have to say, the joy is things like today, for example, we were sharing with students a moment of making a collage, making something together. We did this drawing on the wall, on the glass wall. And this was beautiful. I think this was really fantastic, because then you can experiment together. And we have many projects like that.
Righty. Oh, this is a little tall. So quick question for you. What advice would you give to young architects who want to bridge design and construction rather than staying purely conceptual?
I love construction, so I suggest everybody to get near to the material, get their hands dirty, try to do things, because I believe that hands has an intelligence, and material has a thought. So I think thinking and doing should go together. This is what I believe. And I don't know, the young architects, sometimes I say I want to learn from young architects. I learn from my daughter and son. My son is not an architect, he's an artist, but they are teaching me a lot, because there are many different, beautiful new tools. But I think this spirit is really very important and remains the same. And so maintain your enthusiasm, go wherever you think it's something that enthusiasts you, because for sure there will be a reason and there will be a path there.
Alrighty. And if you were starting your career today, what would you do differently?
I'm not sure. I always think I'm starting my career today.
There are many questions, too many, but I will ask Natasha's. Are there particular mathematic practices or computer programs you use to design the complex geometries of some of your projects?
Yes, but it's not me. I'm the analphabet of the studio. But then I have, because I'm not able to move into the fantastic tools that we have, but there are many fantastic people in the office and they know which are the new program, and we are very experimental. So I'm very open to see new possibilities, new thing. So now we have the usual programs, but we are very interested also about artificial intelligence and how to make it work. So in order to accept something new, you have to play with it. So we are playing every time with the different materials that we have, and the new material we have now is artificial intelligence for sure. So we will mix it for sure.
It's fantastic. I hope everyone will join us down in McCormick Gallery. And we hope that Benedetta Tagliabue will give us a short gallery talk when we get there.
Yes,
So
together with Mariana and Zoran, who were putting the exhibition on, and they are together with me from the office.
thank you so much.
Thank you.